Everybody, this one's been holding 978. 978, you are live on Hahn America Radio. What is your name and how are you tonight?
Hi, my name is Sean, and I am well. How are you?
I'm good.
Well, Hillary has actually just popped up on my local news program as well with some imagery as I speak with you on mute here. So I think there's no accident I've called you this evening. If I have the floor for a moment, I will be 26 here in this coming week, and I have some reasons as to why some of Hillary's past is not appropriate to represent our country.
What was your name again? I'm sorry, I missed it, bro.
Sean.
Sean, okay, brother. Yeah, go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. I'm a survivor of the troubled teen industry, also known as behavior modification, and this is an industry that mainly operates out of Utah. However, I was part of a facility in the state of New York, which came to be in the year 2001, and oddly enough, closed up shop in 2009, which synonymously, falls in line with the legislature of Hillary Clinton as well as Elliot Spitzer, which is kind of an underlying factor to what we're focusing on here tonight. However, I spent 2 years of my life inside of this facility in the upstate of New York on the border of Canada. Meanwhile, hundreds and thousands of dollars were going into the state through this industry, which is very unregulated, and also backed by Mitt Romney, which is another unrelated topic for this phone call specifically. However, I am reaching out tonight to mention the idea of the troubled teen industry and how that has tied into some of her places of employment and states of residency.
Now, Sean, just for our listeners' sake, explain, if you could explain what exactly is this troubled. I know what you're talking about, but for our listeners' sake, what is this troubled teens facility?
I was involved in a facility known as the Academy at Ivy Ridge, and that was located in Ogdensburg, New York. That is a border town to Canada. It has port access. And I was there under the conglomerate of Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs, which is a kind of a grouping of LLCs and grouping of investors, mainly from the Utah area, that were able to erect facilities within our nation as well as internationally, mainly as a means for their own profit, but also as a way to fund certain political groups and create certain tax incentives and economical stimulation for, small economies and certain thinned out, more scarce, low population areas, I guess, utilizing old school facilities and old college facilities mainly as a place to house kids like me whose families were not necessarily seeing something, exceptionally out of control, but ultimately they were looking for some kind of intervention beyond what they felt they could provide for the safety and welfare of our family, which ultimately led them to invest in something which has been laden with fraud and scam and basically kind of follow the money, see where it goes type of thing. And I've actually not been able to get enough answers from the state, exactly who signed the paperwork of how it became to be in 2001.
Okay.
It ultimately they ultimately asked for it to be a school and a facility in August, and then in October they actually basically got the green light. So there was clearly a lot of other things going on at that time in the state as well, which needed attention, which I feel kind of allowed for kids like me and families like us to kind of be taken advantage of, which I feel which falls back on the the constituents and the town people and and Hillary herself for being someone that represented the state of New York for the exact same amount of time that the facility operated.
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, I just kind of I stumbled into your site and your radio and your social media at a similar time that I was kind of thinking about my past. I do constantly work on it. However, I haven't published anything. I've been able to work with Al Jazeera Network on an actual credible piece of literature beyond me just verbating my stance right now. Which is helpful, but I haven't done any of my own work that I could particularly share at this time beyond my own experience. But there may be other kids like me or people like me listening that would know or relate to where I've been or, yeah.
Well, this happened and this took place in 2009?
Well, the facility operated from 2001 to 2009. I was there from 2004 to 2006.
Okay.
As a 15 to 17-year-old.
And how in what way did the facility operate?
They said they were a boarding school for the future, but what they were ultimately doing was committing academic fraud with a accreditation company facility that was giving false credentials to these places, saying they could issue diplomas when they couldn't, and they were saying that they were academically up to date while offering the top of the line behavior aspects that any teen or struggling adolescent youth dealing with addiction or other out of control type things could be given. So what they did was kind of bombard us with Freudian kind of B.F. Skinner type behaviorism. They would do that in concentrated doses, ultimately 48 to 72 hours every 6 weeks, where you would be going in and going through psychological processes, small and large group sharing, being asked to stay up much later, and wake up much earlier than normal while sharing your innermost, darkest secrets with, other kids that were picked out of a group of, that basically they just typed into Google, teen boot camp or scared straight.
Right.
Or Straight Inc., which Straight Inc. is a predecessor to the company the umbrella company that I was kind of caught up in.
You know what? It was somewhere. I was somewhere today. I don't know if I was over on Drudge or I was over on the Washington Post or one of the publications that I read a lot of them, and I have heard, I have read, and I'm familiar with this of what you're speaking, but I seen it pop up somewhere today. And
I mean, it does pop up.
And basically, for all the listeners out there, I guess I'm going to try and break it down. I'll distill it we're basically what we're talking about, Sean, is behavior modification, correct?
Ultimately, that's one of the, or residential teen center is another commonly utilized.
And what role did former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton play in this debacle?
I mean, I have reason to believe that most of the paperwork and documentation and legislature filed in 2001 would tie into her being a state senator and needing to be somewhat aware of the of what was being petitioned by these private companies out of Utah. And I can't help but think that her and at that point it seems like it was a lot of the paperwork shows either Elliot Spitzer as well, or Elliot Spitzer's whoever's speaking on behalf of him because of his own troubles. But ultimately, I can't help but believe that there's good reason to believe that the state senators, as well as House of Representatives of the state of New York, throughout 2001 to 2009, the time of operation of this facility, had to have had some conscious level of what was going on, because this is the type of facility that was clearly stimulating a small border town economy, and now that it's gone, you can see remnants of that. You know, the theaters closing, small shops, small businesses closing. It's trickle down effect. So I don't actually have a document in hand that shows, I signed off and okay, but I can't help but feel to operate with the New York State Ed Department in the manner they did, which ended up becoming fraudulent, which there's plenty of litigation that shows, they've done wrong. I've been part of one that has not fully succeeded at this point, but we have been able to become on, get on people's radar. Like you mentioned today, I heard something about that, that kind of industry, and ultimately,
just today. But
I hate to digress. I apologize. But.
No, that's fine. You're doing great, Sean. And I think here's the bottom line, and I think you probably know this as well as I do. And really, the point that you're getting at is, who was making money off this deal, right? Who is getting the kickbacks?
And I hope I'm not. I don't actually understand the exact premise or stance that you have. I per se as the MC here, so I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes either. But the facility that I was in, a lot of the money definitely went back into George Bush's run for presidency, as well as Mitt Romney. Robert Litchfield is a name that pops up in all of this, who initially was one of Mitt's major financial backers, who had to go off basically had to recant being that kind of a guy for him because of his
brother, let me tell you something, Sean. And I'm gonna tell you something, and you probably know this as well as I do. There's a lot of money flowing out of the state of Utah.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were basically sending a $3,500 check to a PO box that they were taking up to $3,000 of, and sending $500 back to New York to take care of me for a month. And there were times that we didn't have our toiletries, and first of all, we weren't allowed to share things, and we weren't allowed to speak without permission. And we weren't allowed to have certain things. So it's like, if you don't have something, are we allowed to share it or are we not? And that's a whole nother conversation that goes down into the way the program worked. But yeah, all the money ultimately went to specific PO boxes in Utah, but it also went into the New York State economy, and I would clearly think that any representative would understand there was a large amount of money, tax money, coming in from a facility operating as a secondary non-public place of education, which basically protects itself from the state after it's been erected. So whoever signed off on the paperwork made it kind of an enemy of the state afterwards. And there's plenty of even California congressmen. Oh my gosh, is his name forgetting? He just retired. Oh gosh. I mean, I would love to forward you plenty of credible literature that isn't hokey pokey or.
Sure, no, absolutely. Are you Sean? Are you on Twitter?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I actually also have a Twitter page for the survivor aspect of what I do with social media, and I just think I might have followed you on there.
Yeah, let me check over there, because I will. I will definitely. Let me see here. Are you the okay? Yeah, I see you right here. The air survivors.
Yes.
Okay, I just followed you. Okay. All right, I just followed you, Sean, and what I'll do is I would love to in all honesty, I love to read about this and put something to, and talk to you a little bit more on this, man, and because I mean, obviously I've read enough into this to as Hillary's time as a senator from the state of New York, something that she signed off on that I mean, I've got so many problems with this.
And I mean, and I will go back through my documents, and I've done quite a bit of work in the field, and I will go back to see if there's anything I can really screenshot and pinpoint, because sometimes it can run a little deep. You start going through thousands of pages of a PDF, and it's tough to exactly find out where it all began. But I'm getting closer. As I only have so much time to devote to that. Certain other responsibilities take family and certain other relationships have to be on the front burners. But
sure,
yeah.
I just DM'd you my email there. So
great, awesome.
So Sean, how old are you today?
I'm 25 today.
You're 25 today, and so what?
In a couple.
Okay. So what are you doing with your life today? What do you do for a living? For a living, I cook. I serve others. I like to be part of the community in that regard. Short order food. Cool. And as mainly a hobby, I am an MC, and I also am lyrically involved with a couple of outfits, mainly hip hop, but also some jazz, blues, reggae, funk. Right, cool.
So that's my. But I don't quit. You don't quit your day job. You gotta, you live a balanced life, and you take risks, but at the same time you have to not take for granted either, which I've learned in a few different ways.
Well, I
in a
tell
quarter
you what,
of a century.
I would tell you definitely somebody that I look up to a great deal, and for what he's accomplished is he says that all the time. He's a host. He's a talk show host here in Houston, Texas. His name is Michael Berry, and he's syndicated around the country in a few different places. But he's always done things his way. He would never change. He's a lawyer by trade. And he was actually sat on the city council here in Houston, and he gave it all up. His dream was radio. And he went to his wife. He said, honey, I'm giving up my $700,000 a year job to go and take this radio gig from midnight to 4 a.m. for $25,000 a year. And lo and behold, he's number one here in Houston. We're the fourth largest city, so that says something. He's number one here in Houston. He's opened up his own redneck country club. He owns a few restaurants. He's done well for himself. And he said he hated wearing suits every day. He always wanted to grow a beard and a little bit longer hair, and he's done all that, man. He's a conservative, and Michael Berry's just damn. He's got that attitude that you have. Look, you got to make ends meet, Sean.
Sometimes human nature can transcend image.
You bet, man. Bet, man. Yeah, amen. Work your day job. Work to make ends meet, but don't ever, man, keep hammering away at that dream. I'm still doing it, man, to get on terrestrial radio. If I have to take that bit, I'll do my homework off air to see a little bit of more of how you got to where you are today too, as well. So that way you can get out to the rest of the world here. You want to do some? Yeah. Well, I've definitely had some ups and downs in my life for sure. So I'll tell you that right now. So there's a lot of stuff out there on the web about me, a lot, and most of it's bad.
Well, to err is human, but not to err. Well,
yeah, exactly.
You know what they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? You know what? We all make errors, but really quickly we could ask Hillary Clinton. Well, what do you think about that, Hillary? Hold on, we'll get an answer. Hold on.
What difference at this point does it make?
That's what I say, Sean.
Yeah, hey, you know.
Well, hey, man, thanks for calling into the show tonight. I enjoyed that. Email me what you got, and I'd love to have you back on the show as a guest, and we can get a little bit more in depth in this. Maybe you can.
Yeah, of course. There's definitely a community for the for the Survivor Network, and there's even people that are capable of devoting even a little more time than myself. That would be, I feel, an instrumental voice for you as well to chat with. So
right,
I will forward you that.
I had a few when I went over there to DM you my email address. I had a few DMs in there. I want to clarify, and you can clarify this as people. This is not something that you were placed in. This is something you actually paid to go to.
Well, a lot of kids. There's definitely New York State had some court-related referral stuff going on for sure. My parents, though, being Massachusetts residents, they were looking for a means of intervention for some of the decisions. You know, I was starting to, I'd take a little liquor from the cabinet. I was smoking some pot, not checking in regularly as a 14-year-old. Into the skateboard culture, a little bit of the counterculture. Which definitely rose some red flags, but being an only child, I think it drove my parents to, and my dad being more savvy with technology and computers, did some research and did some, brainstorming and thought that this was a good investment, which, ultimately I have a sealed transcript still from 2006 when I left their facilities. I also have an open one, but I had to settle for a GED, and my credits weren't recognized, and some kids were able to recognize a lot of their credits. Every story is slightly unique, which is odd enough because we were all under the same, in the same place. But yeah, it was a voluntary decision that my parents made to sign, some contracts.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I hate to butt because butt is, it's like, oh, what kind of excuse are you going to make? I do feel that, I feel that there's room to nullify some of what they were signing based on, what wasn't delivered, emotionally, physically,
Sure.
mentally.
Sure. Has there ever been any talk? And I think I would be amiss if I didn't ask you this, but has there been any talk amongst the kids that were there today, or at any point of some sort of class action lawsuit against this?
Well, and that's part of what I'm going to be forwarding you. For the past 8 years, myself and my late mother, my mother passed away unexpectedly at the age of 55 this past March, not this March, a year ago. Me and her were actually on this class action lawsuit of 355 people. It was out of Texas, the Turley law firm, actually, out of Dallas, Texas. Really, really great people. They spent the past 8 years fighting down in Utah, really working hard for us in that 5th district, St. George, but they ultimately chose to disband this year, which has left me with the ability to file as an independent.
Sure.
But I have to do that by August, and this past year has definitely slowed my work in that area because of a lot of the emotion involved and everything going on with the family. But me and her were members and are members of this suit, and I'm not looking for money. I'm not looking for anything like that ultimately, even though my parents invested money. I'm looking for this suit and for this to be in a judicial system and to be done properly, because I think it could be one step towards regulating the industry, because it's quite unregulated, and it's it's very lucrative for these people, but it's coming at a cost to all of these families. And I don't want money back. I want accountability. And I was hoping that joining up with them was going to help them say, hey, we asked your child to be accountable for his mistakes and his decisions. Now I would like them to account for the malpractice that they committed educationally and in other manners for us while we were housed there with each other.
Right.
You know?
Where, Sean, real quickly here, where is there any is there any kind of websites? Is there anywhere anybody can go to read information about this, or can they just follow you? Give out your Twitter handle where they can follow you at.
My best Twitter, especially for topics related to this and anything troubled teen related, would be at Air Survivors, and there's no spaces there. That's AIR Survivors, and AIR is a acronym for the Academy at Ivy Ridge, which is only one of many programs. There are also a couple of other reputable websites, and one is WASP Survivors, and that is WWASP, so a little bit different than the religious take on WASP. It has two W's.
Mm-hmm.
And that's for Worldwide Association of Specialty Programs. And they do a great job at reaching out to survivors from Jamaica, Mexico, Costa Rica, Mississippi, Carolina, Nevada. We're all over. And
Sean, could you? Can you put a rough number on how many we're talking about that went through this?
Well, I mean, and then that's the thing. Straight Ink is a predecessor to this, which is guys that are people that are 40 and 45 now, and I'm 25. But for WASP, I would say. I want to say there's tens of thousands, and ultimately, I hate to do this after all of this, but there's fully functioning facilities right now down in Utah. They really mainly operate very closely to the PO boxes that my parents sent the money to. The facilities now are basically really right down the road from those places, and they have only 30 kids instead of 500, or you know what I mean. And it's a little more money now. Because they know, like, you go to New York, like, there's kids that were, like, we don't want it. Like, we don't want another family to spend money for and I'm doing a big job. I'm working hard not to point fingers too, but I mean, we ultimately we've paid for temples, down there.
No, I know where Sean.
This ties into the LDS.
Sean, I feel you totally. I know where you're going with this. I mean, that's when if you didn't catch it when I said the comment, there's a lot of money that flows out of Utah, brother. Listen,
yeah.
I knew exactly where you're going. A lot of that money flows out of Utah straight into Las Vegas too. I mean,
but I'm an open-minded, and I'm open.
It's got nothing to do with the Mormon. Look, it's the Mormons aside, but I knew where I know this story. I don't know as well, nearly as well as you know it. You lived it, but I know.
And I mean, the thing is, there's still documents that have been abandoned, up there. Like, that's part of the Al Jazeera article that I'll be forwarding you. They've basically even ran away from some of these facilities and left behind things that help tell our story, but we need to keep safe, as survivors, because we all shared it together, and to be able to show these people taking kids and slamming them to the ground, and to be able to share all that with the people, and that's what I'm really looking for. Is I'm not looking to really, like I said, I'm not looking for money, and I'm not looking to cause a complete uproar, but I am trying to show that there's an unregulated industry that that's taking mental, physical, and emotional advantage of the youth as well as their families.
Well, I think we got to call them out, Sean. And I mean, I think we got to call them out. I want to go over all the material that you send me, and
for sure.
And really, in all seriousness, we'll put together a show. I mean, real soon. We'll maybe put together something for next week, and to where we can get a couple of these other people on, and really do a whole show
out in California. They just wrapped up a great convention, and there are a lot of people that are really looking out for kids like me, and for guys like me becoming a guy.
Yeah. Well, no, and listen, and to the listeners, to everybody that's listening, this really is, and it really, I think you would probably agree with me, Sean. This is a nonpartisan issue.
Yeah, I mean, I thank all the listeners for their patience, and I do really hope that be something acknowledged as a something that can transcend any party line or any preconceived notion, bias. I hope it's something that anyone could be a dry sponge to and just kind of submerge themselves in.
Sure. Well, Sean, I'm going to put you in the when the show gets done and the pod gets turned around, it'll be available for download. I'm going to put you in there. I'll just put guests, and then I'll put your Twitter handle in there so people can see that going out, and they'll follow you on that too. And one more time before we let you go, give out your Twitter handle again.
Yeah, and that is at AIR, AIR Survivors, and there's no space there. That's at AIR Survivors. And
the AIR is an acronym for.
That is Academy Ivy Ridge, Academy at Ivy Ridge. But the at is obviously silent in that acronym.
Right. Yeah, exactly. All right, Sean. Well, thanks for being on the show tonight here. And you got my email, so and I'll ask you, please don't give that out. But I think you already know that.
No, not a problem. And I'll be tuning in a little beyond our disconnection here. So from the mothership.
Well, I only got 10 minutes left. I scheduled for 3 hours, but I only do 2. So I used to do 3 hours of radio. I can't do 3 hours. Not right now, not anymore. I'm too busy. I'm too busy fishing.
Yeah, there's definitely a market for that in our neck of the woods over here too. So.
Yeah. All right, brother.
Hey, well, have yourself a great night, and thank you again for your time, and I thank your listeners for their ears as well. It's not a show without them.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
All right, take care.
All right, you too, bud. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got about 10 minutes left here in the show.